So tonight we have the last of the community presentation series. So our presenter today, Sister Asiya, she views herself a student of life whose life's mission is to help others live longer and healthier lives. Through her own personal life journey, she experienced suffering and pain and used what she experienced as an opportunity to grow and learn about the vast field of health. In her effort to heal chronic skin conditions and inflammation, she began understanding what a balance of good nutrition and movement does to the body. Her curiosity about the mind-body connection led to her visit India on 3 different occasions and study yoga at the Ayur Yoga Eco Ashram, where she received a 200-hour yoga teacher certification. And as a yoga practitioner, she inspires her students through asana or yoga postures, practice to go beyond the physical body and reprogram the subconscious mind. So I would like to welcome her with a loud salawat. Also, if everyone could just come forward and sit, so we are less people.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and a very, very big thank you to Iman Center, this amazing community which I grew up in, and the amazing committee members who made this possible. Thank you so much, Sister Nafisa, for all of your work and help. So I'm Asiya Khaki and Brother Tanzil, Brother Minaz Bhai, and all the people on the programs committee. I really appreciate all of you and all that you did. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Asiya Khaki. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. I grew up at Iman Center, and so it's very special for me to be kind of standing here before you. So the topic I'm speaking about today is reflection and meditation. I'll start with a quote that is from Imam Ali that says, "Your sickness is from you, but you do not perceive it. And your remedy is within you, but you do not sense it. You presume you are a small entity, but within you is enfolded the entire universe. You are indeed the evident book by whose alphabet the hidden becomes manifest. Therefore, you have no need to look beyond yourself. What you seek is within you, if only you reflect." So what is Imam Ali talking about here, and how do we reflect? I think the thing is, most of us in our lives, we get really busy, and we kind of just run into, day to day, running our job, running our families, and I think we rarely take time to kind of turn within and look and reflect. And so basically, my personal story is, I was suffering from a lot of skin conditions and inflammation in my hips and my wrists and different things. And I was trying the diet route. I was doing all the celery juice and eating vegan and eating healthy. And for 1.5 years, I kept doing it, and I wasn't getting better. And there came to be a night where I remember I was in bed, and I didn't like who I was. And I was crying, and I was like, what have I become? And in this moment, I just kind of prayed, and I just told my husband, I said, I don't know what to do, but tomorrow, I promise I'll start meditating. That's what came to me. So the next day I woke up and I started meditating. I didn't know what I was doing. I just went on Google, on YouTube, and said meditation. And I listened to a meditation before anything in the day. I just started my day with the meditation. And then that day turned out so differently than the rest of the days that I had leading up to it. All of a sudden I started cleaning my house. I was awake till 3 a.m. And then I was like, okay, that felt really good. Something shifted. And then the next day I decided, okay, I'm going to meditate again. And each day it was like I was all of a sudden starting to wake up. Something in me was getting stirred up. I didn't really know what I was doing. And this was only about 6 weeks ago. So 2 months ago maybe. But I've had quite a transformational shift since then, and I couldn't help but share this. So I realized that the eczema, the things that were happening on my physical body were actually a result of my negative thinking, my negative subconscious thinking. So if my negative thoughts had made me sick, could positive thoughts make me well? So this photo was taken, an experiment done by IKEA, but anyone, any family can do this. You can take 2 sets of seeds, 2 sets of plants, and grow them and speak every time you're angry, frustrated, upset, go speak to 1 set of the seeds. And then if you're happy, positive, loving, speak to the other set of seeds. And what you will see is the plant that you speak kindly to will just flourish, and the plant that you speak negatively to will start to wither. I mean, even it can have worms in it, it won't be thriving. So if the words that we speak to an external thing like a plant can have such an effect, can those words that we speak to ourselves have an effect as well? And I believe the answer is yes. So basically, how do we change? How do we change our program if we are so used to what we are, doing already? How can we change and start waking up from what we've been doing? So I believe journaling is a really helpful technique. And I think journaling should be done first thing in the morning, before we go on our WhatsApp, because most of the time we wake up, we go on our WhatsApp, we go on our Instagram, we go on our Facebook, we look at all these things, we talk to our friends, we go to the, we go to the bathroom, we make our breakfast, we just live in this default program. And each day kind of seems like the previous day because we think the same thoughts, we feel the same emotions. So how do we disrupt that routine, that pattern? I think journaling is a very helpful technique. So the first thing that I ask myself every morning, and I write it down in paper, because when you write it down, you're creating synaptic connections in your brain. All of a sudden you're saying, this is what I want to be. You're laying down the foundational railroads for you to evolve. So you can ask, what is the greatest ideal of myself that I can be today? So you can say, I want to be a divine person. I want to be blissful. I want to be patient. I want to be in service. Whatever you're working on. Sometimes people are just busy. They're never present with each other. So maybe you just want to be present with your family and friends. So whatever you are working on that day, you can write it down. And setting that intention will actually make it possible for that kind of stuff to evolve. The second question I ask myself is, what thoughts am I going to be conscious of all day? These are thoughts I wish to change. For example, do I feel angry? Do I blame? Do I get frustrated? Does all these, any type of negative emotion that you're trying to evolve? I'll give you an example. Today I flew in from New York. In the morning, I got up early. I had all this curry in my fridge from the iftars I've been going to. So I prepared the curry, I warmed it up on the stove, I put it in a container, and I was so excited to eat it on the plane. As I was going through TSA, the TSA said, that's liquid, because it was a curry. And so yes, it was liquid. So they said, we're gonna take your food, and they took it and they just dumped it in the trash can right in front of me. And the old Asiya, before I started meditating, like 2 months ago, I would have felt frustration, anger, resentment. I would have been so angry at that TSA person. I would have said, how can you throw away my food? But instead I just smiled and I felt blissful and I said, it's for the best. And basically the thing is, I'm thinking about those plants. I don't want to have any negative thought pass in my body, in my mind, in my spirit, because that is just going to have a negative effect on me. The person who I've been really inspired by is Joe Dispenza. And his daughter one time was arguing with her brother. And her brother said something and he was trying to elicit a response. And she says, I'm not going to feel anger. Because if I feel anger, the only person I hurt is myself. So we have to become aware of every single thought that we're thinking. And so writing this down is very helpful. And I'll make mistakes. I was talking with my sister, I said something earlier. She said, that's actually not a great thought. And I said, you're right, that's not. I don't want to feel that way. And so I made a note of it. And tomorrow in my journal, you bet that thing's going to be there. Because that's how we evolve. We don't evolve from perfection to perfection. We evolve each day, becoming one step a little bit better. I'm not perfect, and nor will I ever be. But each day I can strive to be a little bit better. So the next question that I ask is, how will I act and speak today? Again, you want to write down things as if they've already in the present. So like, for example, I will be present with my family and friends. I will smile often. I will be blissful. Whatever you are working on, each person's journey is going to be different. How are you going to act and speak? And again, every time you do this mental rehearsal, you're basically creating synaptic connections in your brain, laying down the hardware, right? And hopefully that hardware will become a software program, or the software will become a hardware. I don't know which way it goes. My dad can explain that to you. But anyway, it will, you start laying down the foundation and then it can become something more concrete. But it starts with the intention. It starts by waking up. It starts by the reflection, the process of reflection that Imam Ali was talking about in the beginning quote. What thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain today? What behaviors will I demonstrate today? Again, it's just helping you do that mental rehearsal. Just this 10 minutes at the beginning of your day. And then last thing I do is list 3 things to be thankful for. Being in the state of gratitude allows yourself to be in the receiving mode. When do I say thank you? When you give me something, I say thank you, right? So when you just start listing things you're thankful for, good things just happen. Like on the plane today, I sat next to someone and I was just smiling at him. He was an older man, he didn't speak any English, he was from China. And I was courteous to him. And then basically I was really tired, so I just kind of slept. And he we had a seat between us. And he just put his bag there and he said, sleep on my bag. So when you are always kind and smiling and good things will happen to you naturally. If you're negative towards people, like if I had been rude to him when I first got on the airplane, I don't think he would be offering and put his bag on the seat for me to lie down on, right? So your world is actually a reflection of you. When people are kind to you, it's a reflection of you, right? Like smile at you and the world smiles back, right? That's one of the quotes that I love, and it's very true from my experience. And then list 3 things you will do today. And I like doing that because that just helps me become focused. Like what are the 3 things that I want to do to move my business forward, to move my personal growth forward, to do something. And when you set a focus like that, it's like just taking 10 seconds to reflect makes you, maybe get that thing done on your to-do list and you really feel like a little bit of a difference. So this is the journaling exercise that I really recommend, and you can take a picture of the slide or I can email it to you. But try to journal if you want to. Sometimes we go 10 years, 15 years, 20 years without even reflecting one day. And this is a great exercise you can do just 10 minutes at the beginning of your day, and you'll notice a huge transformation in the person that you become. Uh-oh. Where are the rest of my slides? I have them on my phone otherwise, because I think I was, okay. Do you want to bring my phone to me? I'm hooked. Here. Otherwise I'll just continue speaking until it gets up in the interim. The presentation has more than 10 slides, but that's okay if there's no, This is it's the Google Slides I used to make it. But anyway, the next quote that I have on here, it says, the soul can't go to the future, can't create a new adventure, can't journey back to its source if it's living by some emotion that's kept in the past. So basically, the habits, that I wish the slideshow worked because it's really, do you know the link I sent you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get that.
Okay. So a habit is basically a set of redundant, automatic, unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that is acquired through frequent repetition. Your body knows how to do it better than the brain. By the time we're 35 years old, we're a memorized set of habits and behaviors. So what does this mean? Basically, every day, like I said, we get up and we do the same thing. We make our coffee the same way. We do, if I ask you, for example, to dial a phone number, people who are 30 years and above, they'll know how to dial their friends and family's number because their body has memorized these things. So we kind of are all living in this almost unconscious realm of just kind of being in the automatic. So how can you get into that automatic thing and start to reprogram, right? The reflection activity that I explained through journaling is one way, but meditation is another way. And meditation has been a very powerful thing for me. And so I'll read a quote. Meditation opens the door between the conscious and the subconscious minds. We meditate to enter the operating system of the subconscious, where all of the unwanted habits and behaviors reside, and change them to a more productive modes to support our lives. So what happens during meditation, right? So I think that there's several things that go on, right? One is there's the physical brain. And actually when you're meditating, all of a sudden your brain waves go from beta brain waves, which are just when you're focused on the exterior world, you're focused on people, things, and you start to move into alpha. And all of a sudden your brain waves become coherent. So a lot of times if you're thinking about one thing, say you're thinking about this thought, and then another thought, and then another thought, each of those have neurological networks in the brain. And so when you have a lot of thoughts racing in your head, your brain starts to become incoherent. And when your brain is incoherent, you're incoherent. And so the way, when you start meditating, all of a sudden you start to move into a state of coherence. And so all of a sudden your brain waves will start waving up. And I have a beautiful illustration, if they're able to show it, of how the brain waves will change. Additionally, basically, just the incoherent kind of patterns that are, I wish the graphic was up, but anyway, start to become very coherent. Another thing that happens is our bodies become the unconscious mind of different emotions. So like I was explaining about anger, right? So every time I felt angry, it was an unconscious thing that would happen. I would just feel angry. So I would see that there would be laundry on the floor, I would feel angry. Someone would take my food away, whatever, I would feel angry. So all of a sudden my body had all of this unconscious kind of emotion of anger that was almost like trapped in my body. And so when you start meditating, all of a sudden you start coming to the present moment. When you're in the present moment, you're no longer living by those negative emotions of the past. And when you do that, you free all of this energy in your body. And that's energy that can heal the body. And so what I recommend doing, I have a beautiful graphic as well. It shows like before and after meditation, how the energy changes around the body. So there's one level is the energy. The second level is the brain coherence. And then basically, the model of meditation that I'm using, I told you was inspired by Joe Dispenza. And so he says that there's basically a Newtonian model of the universe, which is saying there's like a cause and effect. And he says in the quantum model, basically, it's about causing an effect. So how does this happen? He discusses about like basically, you basically want to go from being in your physical body with your pain, with your suffering from your mind, and you basically kind of leave your body. You go from somebody to nobody, from someone to no one, something to no thing, sometime to no time. You know what, you guys, we can even just, I think it's really distracting. We can even just, or maybe just turn off the screen because I'm having trouble focusing with it flashing. Yeah. Okay, because I was like really, I couldn't really concentrate. So basically, through meditation, what I'm trying to explain is that normally there's a cause and effect, but when you start meditating and you start going into another realm, so like we basically have our physical body and our thoughts, and that's usually what we're always experiencing. But when you go into a meditation, the purpose is to go into that higher state of just consciousness, right? To become aware. And when you get into that awareness, all of a sudden, when you're awareness, you are no longer the body. You are no longer the mind. You are just pure consciousness. And in that state of pure consciousness, there's unlimited number of possibilities. And what that means is the quantum idea is that in the quantum field, there's unlimited number of possibilities for anything. So I'll give an example. I'm talking a lot of abstract, things. Let's bring it back down to an example. So Joe Dispenza, the guy who I've been following, who's been helping me, his story is pretty unique. He was riding in a triathlon, and all of a sudden he got hit by a truck, and 6 of his vertebrae shattered. And so the doctors in California, the leading surgeons said, you need to get surgery, you need to get a metal rod placed from the base of your spine to your neck, and you're going to be living a disabled life. And basically he went against the doctor's recommendations, and he decided to meditate. And he meditated for 4.5 weeks. And he meditated, he's meditated since, but at 4.5, he meditated every day. And at 4.5 weeks, he basically had a click. And all of a sudden, he realized that the intelligence that had created him had the power to heal him. And all of a sudden, he basically reconstructed his spine using his brain, right? Using this meditation technique, right? So he basically says that in the quantum field, when you go from being matter to energy, from particle to wave, there's limitless possibilities. And what that means is that you can really create any effect, you can create any reality for yourself because there's an unlimited number of realities. So his daughter said to him, she says, "Dad, if what you say is true, well, I want an all expense paid trip to the mall, I want a shopping spree paid for." So he said, "Yeah, I can make it happen." So what he did is basically, she started meditating with him every single morning. She would wake up at 5 a.m. and she would meditate. And during her meditation, she would put out her energetic intention, which was that she wanted this all-expense shopping spree. Every day she did it. And then one day she called him and she said, "Dad, guess what? It happened today." So he said, "Tell me how it happened." She said, "Well, I was visiting my friend in California." You know, she's a 15, 16-year-old girl. And basically, some random guy came up to the friend and her, and he said, "Hey, are you so-and-so's daughter? I've been trying to figure out a way to pay your dad back," her friend's dad, you know. "Friend, your dad back for something he did. Here's my credit card from my company. Enjoy." So he said, "How much money did you spend?" "Oh, I spent $7,500. So basically, she created, because there's limitless possibilities in the quantum field, that you can really create anything. So during his workshops, people create hummingbirds, they create cats, because you're basically, when you change your body from matter to energy, you can really collapse particle into anything, right? And so we can make any reality possible for ourselves. But you have to come out of living in the past, in the emotions of the past. Most of the time when we have a problem with our body, you know, all of this stuff, it's a matter of having those trapped emotions. And so when we leave the past behind and come into the present moment, we really are able to free up the energy and create any reality for ourselves. Anyway, so basically I wanted to do a guided meditation for 5 minutes, but I think we're up on time. So I had many other things I wanted to say, but I think it was just a little short in the PowerPoint anyway. But yeah, like, I guess the takeaway is that if you're interested in anything that I said, and you feel like, you know, maybe there is something to what she's saying, I would say get started. Just try to meditate, you know. You don't necessarily need to know what you're doing, but Joe Dispenza has great meditations on YouTube. He has ones. And just let yourself there. But you know, when you start meditating, it's going to feel uncomfortable because your body basically wants to be feeling like, you know, the unconscious mind of anger or the unconscious mind of this. And so when you try to sit the body down, all of a sudden it's like taming a wild animal. And so you're going to feel uncomfortable, but pretty soon you can get into that quantum field. And in that quantum field, there's limitless possibilities. And I believe each one of us, every single person here, is as divine as two snowflakes. Like, you never see two snowflakes that are the same. I think each one of us has a divine purpose here. And you know, when we connect to our true selves through the meditation, we really start to get the message of what we are supposed to be here. You know, each one of us is a leader, each one of us has unique talents, each one of us has something to do here. And I think that when you start, you know, taking away these negative emotions that hold you down and things like that, and you start living in the present moment, you start actually becoming the person that you're meant to be. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope this was okay. I know it was a little abridged, and there were some technical difficulties, but I really appreciate all of you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there any questions?
Just for the record, your movement slides were only 10, so what you said was only 10.
I shared the document. Anyway, it's okay.
Sorry.
Question?
Yeah.
So for meditation, it means that you have to be always absolutely quiet and peaceful and just not say anything and think about nothing.
I think basically what happens is you want to get past the analytical mind, right? So the analytical mind wants to always be thinking, creating new thoughts. And so when you sit down in meditation, automatically the brain waves start to slow down. So when you do it enough times, all of a sudden your mind will start getting quieter. It's not a matter of controlling the mind, it's trying to connect with that consciousness. It's trying to get out of the mind. And then the body also wants to move, it wants to feel hungry. It's like, hey, feed me, I want to do this, I want to go to the bathroom. It will start creating these thoughts. I'm cold, I'm hot, whatever. The body's going to be telling you all these things because it wants to take you out of that present moment. You just have to try to stay in that present moment. Then as you do it each time, more and more, all of a sudden you start getting into that consciousness. And you'll have glimmers of it. I made my mom and dad meditate today. Together we did it. And my mom said, I felt a glimmer of that space. She's like, I felt space. I felt, or my dad felt heart coherence, which I wanted to talk about. But those are signs that it's starting to work. Because when our heart is in coherence, when you're meditating, all of a sudden you start feeling these chemicals in your heart. And those chemicals, our heart has the potential to produce 1,400 chemicals that can heal the body. So when you're in heart coherence and then you have the brain coherence, all of a sudden you're putting out a new electromagnetic signature. So you have to basically cause the effect, right? You have to feel whole. If you are sick and stuff like that, you have to start feeling whole before your sickness goes away. If you want love, then you need to feel the love before the love comes, right? So we're causing the effect. You start feeling that way, so you don't wake up out of the meditation until you feel what your intention was. You feel it with every cell of your body that I am this future reality. As I was covered in rashes, I was trying everything. I couldn't get it to go away. And then it was like, boom, 2 weeks, meditation's like, everything cleared up.
How is namaz and meditation?
So I think the thing is, when you pray, you're talking to God, right? You're actively, it is a meditative act. But I think when you are meditating and you're connecting with the quantum field, I feel that God talks to you. So that's how I feel like prayer and meditation is slightly different. And I get messages. I mean, you start in the frontal lobe of your brain. We have different modes of our brain. There's the limbic brain, the frontal lobe. So when you start meditating, you start calming down that emotional brain, that limbic brain. You know, that gut reaction. We always have that gut reaction of everything. So you start having that chess player brain. The frontal lobe starts becoming developed. Also, the parts of the brain start talking to each other. They start lighting up. So all of a sudden, you're having a more coherent experience. And then, you start getting messages. You start getting images. Our frontal lobe sees in pictures. So I get pictures, of what I should be doing, visions of the future, what is my greatest ideal or that. Okay, I think we're up on time. Sorry for going over.
Sorry, your dad was asking question in